I've made a truce with time and should. Will it last? It's hard to say. So far, so good. Using timeless wisdom from Dr. Seuss, I'll tell you how this came about. How did it get so late so soon? It's night before it's afternoon. December's here before it's June. Goodness, how the time has flew. How did it get so late so soon? From the time I could walk, I struggled with should and time. The world's random rules, impossible expectations, and illogical blocks of time frustrated and confused me. And this is normal for young children. But I was not normal. Why fit in when you were born to stand out? Because sometimes you should. But I didn't. Fit in, that is. I stood out. And I stood up when I should sit down. And I jabbered when I should be quiet. I did all the things I shouldn't, and I couldn't help it. Everyone wondered why, and so did I. Think and wonder, wonder and think. There was a name for my not normalness. Attention deficit hyperactivity disorder. Not a common diagnosis in the 1970s, and not many people knew much about it. But I did, because I lived it. You are you. Now, isn't that pleasant? No, I wouldn't say being me was pleasant. It was either awesome or terrible. There was no middle ground, no calm, no peace. The more you read, the more things you'll know. The more things you learn, the more places you'll go. Reading became my refuge, and Dr. Seuss, my muse. The comforting rhythm and encouraging words made sense to me. Seussisms guided me through many a difficult time. Dr. Seuss wasn't really a doctor, but his words healed me. Books, boundaries, and places to go. My parents provided me with all of these things, along with the opportunities to learn how to fit in and stand out. And because they knew I had no patience whatsoever, they found a way to help me tolerate time. An example of this, they declared the long drive to my grandparents' house in the city to be only 45 minutes long. They knew this number would make me happy. 45 minutes was not some arbitrary number they chose. It meant something to me. 45 minutes was safe, good, and tolerable. You know why? Because 45 minutes of being patient and behaving is easier than doing it for a whole hour. I could behave in church, math class, or sit still in the car for 45 minutes. And 45 minutes of having a good time seemed like so much longer than a mere half hour of fun. Will you succeed? Yes, you will indeed. 98.75% guaranteed. 45 minutes was a compromise, a number that made it more likely that I could succeed at doing what I should. You see, physical time is not at all reflective of the way my ADHD brain experienced time. Try to imagine experiencing time within time all the time. Instead of flowing through time, being in the moment, your past, present, and future is colliding in every moment. It's exhausting. Oh my God. Step with great care and great tact, and remember that life is a balancing act. I cared, but I was tactless, stubborn, and impulsive, which made finding balance quite difficult. And I learned everything the hard way. Taking medication helped. It made it a little easier for me, but it was still hard. Today I shall behave, as if today will be remembered. This particular Seussism became my mantra. In all of the Good Doc stories, I noticed that behaving didn't mean conforming. I realized that I could fit in and stand out. And my parents reinforced this truth every day. Be who you are and say what you feel, because those who mind don't matter, and those who matter don't mind. Adult me wasn't very different than kid me, because nobody grows out of ADHD. Total myth, by the way. Don't believe it. We just learn to live with it. But even as adults, we need firm boundaries. So when I made them myself, I stuck with that 45-minute safe measure. I sought it out, and I made it so. Higher education is heaven for the unquiet mind. So many 45-minute blocks of time. I made it through college, grad school, and found a career. I had good friends and remained extremely close to my family. I married my love and became a mother. I felt successful, but I was never content. Today you are you, and that's truer than true, and there is no one alive that is youer than you. It kept getting easier, but it was still so hard to be me sometimes. One day, I was driving along and experienced my first truly peaceful moment as I listened to my son singing and giggling in the back seat. Oh, so this is what it felt like to be in the moment, to be content. Before I knew it, the moment turned into a memory, but this memory often provided me with great comfort. My tussles with time and should became less and less, and I learned how to be. I learned how to balance. Only you can control your future. I worked hard to stay in control and let go. And just when I was starting to feel in control of my future, the future took control of me. Cancer, a future nobody can control. Cancer quickly ravaged my father, and I found it impossible to balance anything during the time he was sick. Forget about being content. I was terrified. You have brains in your head and feet in your shoes. You can steer yourself in whatever direction you choose. But how could I choose? Should I be with my father, my friends, my family, at work? There were too many shoulds and never enough time. And my father's time was running out. Being with him that became the should that took up most of my time. Yet somehow, I wasn't with him when he died. How much longer, Mommy? My son whined. He was frustrated and confused during the long drive to his grandparents. I understood, and I remembered, and I felt the same way. I had to make it better for him the way my parents did for me. Only 45 minutes, baby. You just have to hold on for only 45 minutes, and we will be there. But nothing could make the time less painful for me. My safe time frame gave me zero comfort because my father was dead. Hold him here and here. My mother stayed with my father, rubbing his arms, neck, and face, keeping him warm and as soft as she could until I arrived, because she didn't want me to say goodbye to a cold, stiff body. What must the time have felt like for her? Too much? Not enough? I suppose both. I ran my fingers through his curly black hair, and it happened again, that being in the moment thing. I was only right there at that moment with my father as his body cooled and hardened. And this is when I said goodbye. And so I formed a truce with time and should, my lifelong adversaries. In the moment when life and death meet, these things lose their power, and it is silly to keep fighting. Because life and death just are, regardless of the choices I make, how I spend my time. What matters is simply what is in every single moment. And I'd never be able to control how many of those I would have, even if I did all the things I should. And this is true for everyone, whether you fit in or stand out. Sometimes the questions are complicated and the answers are simple. The truth is still alive 10 years later. It's gotten easier, but it's still really hard. Today is your day. Your mountain is waiting, so get on your way.